What's happening out of the park baseball world? How are you on this fine Sunday evening? This is a very special live episode of Out of the Park Now. I'm so happy to be here. Happy that you guys are here. It's a really exciting day, and I'm happy that my good friend and our community and content developer, Kris Jardine, is here. Kris, how are you, sir?
I am very well. I am again, as you said, I'm happy to be here. I think this is the second year that we've done a after the postseason simulations reveal stream. I think we did one last year too, if I remember. They all kind of run together at this point. But I do seem to remember us doing something like this
Yes.
last year. So I'm very excited. Lots of things to look at and
Oh,
and
yeah.
and comb over for those people who are just hopping over to the stream from the MLB network. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
So let's start right with that. So, for the third straight year, the incredible people at the MLB Network have allowed us to unveil our postseason predictions live on their postseason prediction show. We cannot thank them enough. They are incredible partners. We work with them multiple times a year. They are fantastic, and I just cannot thank those guys enough. I had the pleasure of going to the MLB Network studios a couple of years ago, and everybody there was absolutely a class act. They're a first class organization, and again, I just can't thank them enough. So thank you, MLB Network, for allowing Out of the Park Baseball 20 this year to put our 2019 Major League Baseball season postseason predictions live on the air. They they went live, and what was interesting, it's always fun. I never know exactly what the reaction is going to be. And as we'll get into, I have a couple of a couple of our predictions that could be considered, I don't know, controversial is the right word, but some at least surprising. And the commentators, in particular Billy Ripken, not only had some nice things to say about it, but actually sort of were leaning heavily in our direction as well. So it was a lot of fun seeing our predictions up there once again. In case you didn't know, and if you did know, it's only because you haven't been hearing me yap about it for a while. For the last 2 years, Out of the Park Baseball has gotten the World Series winners correct. We got the Astros correct in 2017, and we got the Red Sox correct in 2018. In fact, last year in 18, we got the World Series correct with the Dodgers and the Red Sox.
I
So,
think I think last year actually, TJ and I were talking about this a few weeks ago. I think we had every series, every wild card game correct except for there was one
Indians.
division series,
Yep.
yeah, Cleveland.
Yep.
That other than that, we had a perfect bracket last year.
We did.
So the bar is very high right
A
now.
lot of pressure. Lots of pressure. And let's just say the Slack conversations with the development team as we were finalizing these got a little interesting. And again, we'll we'll get to why they're interesting. We certainly, I don't think you could say that we went chalk this year, Kris. Would that be a fair statement?
Uh,
Oh wait, you're Canadian. You don't know what it means when we say to go chalk, do you? It's a
I
whole
mean,
NCAA tournament thing. So I
I'm just
apologize.
I'm just going to agree with you and say yes. We definitely, absolutely did that for sure.
I forgot they don't play college basketball in the far northern reaches of Canada where you live. I think. What
What,
are you? Are you like?
okay,
Are you
hold on.
13,000 miles from Toronto, north of Toronto? Is
Hold
that
on.
how far you are?
Hold on. First of all, originally you said college football. Now you're saying college uh,
Basketball. Always
basketball.
been talking about basketball the whole time.
We have college basketball in Canada. It is a thing. The CIS has a very great, far-reaching college basketball experience.
Okay, I'll believe you on that.
I mean, you should.
I do.
I just, you should.
A lot of pressure, and we certainly did not go just pick the top teams and make it easy on ourselves. We ran, and let's talk about this. We ran 1,000 simulations. We do this every year. We ran 1,000 simulations this year using our new live start feature. we also, not only ran the 1,000 simulations, but we ran them with basically as Major League Baseball stood today, with the latest sort of rotations and lineups and injuries and all that kind of stuff. And so we've run our 1,000 simulations, and we're going to go through them. And what we do is we don't run 1,000 simulations and then sort of pick a single one that best represents it. We run 1,000 simulations, and then we aggregate those to put the matchups together, and that's sort of how we do it. It's an interesting methodology that we've really continued to sort of hone and craft over the last few years, and it's a lot of fun. And boy, when you run 1,000 simulations, you see some very interesting things. So that is the way that we do this. And again, we're going for 3 for 3 with our postseason predictions for MLB Network. And I will have you know, Kris Jardine, that not more than probably 15 minutes before we started this show tonight, I took the exact bracket that we produce with Out of the Park Baseball, and I participated in the MLB Postseason Challenge. It was something that's done through MLB, through MLB.TV, I believe. And I filled out the bracket exactly as as Out of the Park Baseball predicted it, and I'm stand to win $250,000 if I get a perfect bracket, which I will. So I'm feeling very good about that. And by the way,
I would like you to be aware that should you win, that all prize money will be promptly returned to Out of the Park Developments, and be used to upgrade the simulation engine even further than we've been able to upgrade it in previous years.
I'm not sure that I agree with that statement, but we'll take that offline. How about that?
Well, yeah, sure. We can have that. We can have that discussion later on.
All right, so let's get into it. Let's start off with the wild card round. Yeah, we don't wait to see who wins the wild card games and then roll with the predictions. No, we go right from the wild card game. So, moving into the American League wild card game, Kris, we have already something of an upset in that we have the Tampa Bay Rays defeating the Oakland Athletics. The Athletics are playing at home. The Rays are obviously a very good team. Both of these are very good teams. It's amazing that these two 90-plus win teams couldn't even get in, past the wild card round. But that's where we are. The Rays playing in the Yankees division and the A's playing in the Astros division. Those two teams, just had historic seasons. But we've got, and by the way, if I recall the exact numbers, it wasn't even really close. Out of the Park Baseball 20 loves the Rays over the A's. Kris, what do you think?
Well, luckily I came prepared, Rich, and I have the numbers. We actually predict that Tampa Bay wins in the simulations just a hair under 66%.
That's a lot.
Of the time. And what this game really comes down to is how effective Charlie Morton is going to be.
Yep.
If Charlie Morton can pitch like he has the majority of 2019,
which is really well,
I think that this game is handily going to be in Tampa Bay's favor, or Tampa's favor, I suppose. Or if I don't think they use the Bay anymore, or the Devil.
No, they don't use the Devil. The Tampa Bay Rays.
Pretty soon they're going to be like a Brazilian soccer player, and they're just going to be called Rays. But yeah, if Morton pitches like he has the majority of 2019, I think it's going to be a tough hill to climb for Oakland. Oakland is not extremely offensively gifted, and Tampa Bay has a multi-headed monster in that bullpen. Just like a lot of things come down to in the postseason, it's going to come down to pitching and defense. And I think in both of those categories, Tampa Bay has a distinct advantage. Oakland does have, Puck and Hendricks down there, but still, I think it's not out of the realm of possibility to lean heavily on Tampa here.
I mean, I'm not going to go against the predictions, but I will say,
never.
I will say that Oakland is a very good team. I have not watched a lot of them this year, but I have seen them here and there, and they're just tough, and they're gritty, and they are not going to go quietly. They're playing at home. We know Oakland has a really, They have a very, very sort of sad recent postseason history. In the Billy Bean era, they have made the postseason a lot, but they haven't had a lot of success. You got to think with a team this good, one of these years they're going to buck that trend. But it does not appear, at least, that this is the year that they do that.
And the other thing you can't forget here is Tampa plays 36 games against the Yankees and Red Sox.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Red Sox, not that far removed from being world champions, and still a very good ball club. And the Yankees having a very, very, very good season. And Tampa with that sort of competition, able to eclipse the 90 wins, able to put together an amazing season. You look at the NL West, definitely not the same competition out there. Does that mean anything when you get into the postseason? I mean, there's something to be said about playing the best teams and being in those kind of tight games. So yeah, I definitely think this is going to be a very good game.
Oh yes.
I think it'll be a very good game. But yeah, I definitely am in favor of the Sims here with the Rays.
All right, so let's move over to the National League wildcard game, Chris. And we have, in, again, what should be a tremendous game, we have the Washington Nationals defeating the Milwaukee Brewers. So in the American League game, we had the road team winning, which is tough to do. In the National League, we've got the home team winning. Are there two more red-hot clubs? Now, I know the Brewers stumbled a little bit in the last couple of days, including a heartbreaking loss on Saturday that basically eliminated them from winning the division, although they still had a shot today had they won and the Cardinals lost. But regardless, over the last month, even after the devastating Yelich injury, not industry, the Brewers were absolutely red hot. They won that wild card. They didn't back into anything. They were one of the best teams in baseball. Perhaps the only team hotter are the Washington Nationals. These are two really good teams colliding in Washington on Tuesday night. Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, I definitely don't disagree. I think these are two teams that are in a very good place right now. I would have to say that Washington has a relatively large advantage here, again, because of the strength of what they have on the hill with Max Scherzer.
Not been good. Max Scherzer has not been good since returning. Not good at all. There's a lot of controversy around this selection. I would have gone with Strasburg or maybe Corbin. I would not have gone with Scherzer myself. Max
Scherzer's the guy that you want out there in this game. He's the guy that I think. Here's the thing. I think if it was Strasburg, I don't think the simulation moves at all. I think Milwaukee is in trouble. I think that Brandon Woodruff is probably making the best out of whatever they have in the situation. What it really comes down to for Milwaukee is what kind of game can they get the ball to Josh Hader. And Josh Hader, while he has been absolutely electric, in the strikeout department, he's been very homer prone. 15 home runs allowed on the season. And you have a Nationals team that is no stranger. Well, no, I mean, there's not a team in baseball that's a stranger to hitting home runs right now. But that's the thing. I feel like, with Scherzer, and that's the thing is there's no rule that says they're not going to have Strasburg down in the bullpen. I mean, it's one game. It's all bets are off. But yeah, I definitely think Washington is in a good spot here. I think that Milwaukee sans Christian Yelich is just not gonna be able to put up much of an offensive counteraction to what the Washington Nationals are capable of doing. But yeah, if there is a weak spot that Milwaukee is going to be able to exploit, it is the Nationals bullpen. The Nationals bullpen has been all over the road this season.
No,
Um,
it's a train wreck. The
it,
Nationals bullpen is an absolute train wreck. There is no two ways about it. The Nationals would have competed with the Braves for the division title had their bullpen not been abysmal all season
yeah,
long, especially early in the season. But
yeah,
they've been bad the whole season.
yeah. And
The,
the thing is that they don't have that like even in like you look at when Milwaukee's bullpen is going particularly bad, you know, you can turn to Josh Hader, and yes, Hader has had an up and down season, but he's still capable of coming into a game, striking out three guys, and getting you out of a jam. Washington doesn't even have that one guy. Like you can't imagine at this point, you know, Dave Martinez looking at his bullpen
no,
card in the seventh inning of a game,
nope.
and that's why I think you can almost guarantee that you will see Steven Strasburg at some point in this game, um, possibly even late. You have to win this game, and again, you know the Sims like Washington, I like Washington, but there is that late inning
Mm-hmm.
confidence factor
Absolutely.
with, and you know, if Milwaukee, if Brandon Woodruff can give them 3 or 4 good innings,
Mm-hmm.
and then they can try to piece together the last 5 innings and stay in this game, try to get into the Nationals bullpen, all bets could be off in this one. But I definitely think straight up and down on paper, I think, yeah, the Nationals are the better team.
The Nationals sure can hit. There's no doubt
Yeah,
about that. They
yeah,
sure can hit. All
yeah.
right, let's move to the division series, shall we? Let's go to the American League. Let's start there. And while we have the Rays winning the wild card game, we have the Rays losing to the Houston Astros. I don't think this would be a surprise to anybody. The Rays are a good club, up and down. The Astros are a historically great club with an incredible starting pitching, tremendous hitting, and a bullpen that is, far from the Washington Nationals. I guess is probably the easiest thing to say about the Astros. Your thoughts on this one, Kris?
I think this is pretty straightforward. I think that um, while Tampa Bay has had a impressive and some would say overachieving season, they don't match up well on paper with Houston.
Nope.
With Verlander and Cole and Greinke, you know, being that insane three-headed monster. Wade Miley has had some really good high points at this season.
Mm-hmm.
Their bullpen with Ozuna and Will Harris and Ryan Presley and Davinsky down there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, their bullpen is really, really good. And that's before you even start talking about their lineup, you know, with, 330 homer guys.
Mm-hmm.
There's not really an easy out in that lineup. The resurgence of Michael Brantley,
Mm-hmm.
the absolute breakout from Yordan Alvarez. Top to bottom, Houston is, I would say, on the American League side, the closest thing to a complete team.
Mm-hmm.
There is no weakness to Houston. And that's not, again, the Sims are not taking anything away
Mm-mm.
from Tampa Bay. Again, Tampa
Nope.
Bay had a really good year.
Yep.
But the Sims expect Houston to win almost 71% of the time against Tampa.
That's an overwhelming when you run it 1,000 times.
And that's, again, more of a testament to how good Houston is.
That's right.
And no way, shape, or form a knock on Tampa.
That's right. All right, so let's go to the other half of the American League bracket. We got a lot of people who are not going to be happy with this, a lot more people who will be, obviously, including several good friends of mine who are huge Twins fans. We've got the Yankees knocking off the Twins once again. The Twins' heartbreak to the Yankees, particularly their postseason Yankees heartbreak, continues, Kris, and the Yankees are going to defeat the Twins in the American League Division Series according to Out of the Park Baseball 20.
This was the series I was most interestingly looking forward to seeing what the Sims were going to think. Um, the Sims give the Yankees a huge edge over the Twins to the tune of 71.4%
Unbelievable.
advantage over Minnesota. The biggest thing here is, you know, both of these teams have historically great power offenses.
Ridiculous power.
And that coming from Minnesota, for a team who does not typically play in a homer friendly stadium, and they have 3 or 4 of the least homer friendly parks in baseball in their division. Comerica is not particularly homer friendly. Kauffman Stadium's not particularly homer friendly. Whatever they call the White Sox guaranteed rate low discount Comiskey Park, whatever it's called these days, not particularly a homer friendly stadium. And yet still here are the Twins, with over 300 home runs. The Yankees have over 300 home runs. Again, what this comes down to is when you compare these two rosters, the Yankees bullpen has that take over, shut down ability. Yes, they have injuries. Yes, they're missing some very key pieces, and obviously I'm referring to Dellin Betances, who is usually that big giant right-handed threat. But you still have to deal with Chapman. You still have to deal with Ottavino. You still have to deal with Britton. You still have to deal with Conley. Maybe Britton will actually get the pitch in a playoff game for once. That to me, and you're looking at the possibility of Masahiro Tanaka, or I should say the likelihood that Masahiro Tanaka is going to be in the bullpen as well. To me, that's where the Yankees have an extreme advantage. Yes, Minnesota has had some fantastic pieces in the bullpen. Taylor Rogers has come from out of nowhere to have an amazing season in the bullpen. Trevor May has pitched fantastically. Tyler Duffy has pitched great. Ryan Harper, Blake Parker, they've all done their part. But those guys all combined have absolute zilch in terms of playoff experience and pitching when the games really, really matter. Chapman's a world champion. A lot of those guys down there had pitched in huge games. To me, that's where the big advantage is going to be. Is I expect the Yankees bullpen to absolutely outclass and outpitch the Twins bullpen.
I mean, here are the Twins having one of their best years in franchise history, hitting more home runs than ever. Yes, they got out to an amazing lead. They wound up having a bit of a scare with the Indians catching up to them, but they ultimately held on and won the division relatively easily. Again, a historically great season for the Twins, and here you go. You got to go to Yankee Stadium, and the Yankees obviously have the home field advantage. They got 3 out of the 5 games. You got to look at it one of 2 ways. Either woe is me as a Twins fan, our reward for one of the best seasons ever is going to face these Yankees again. Or, you know what? I'm ready to excise the demons. And if I'm a Twins fan, I want the Yankees. I want them, and I want to knock them out. You can look at it one of either ways. It's interesting, but it's going to be a very interesting series, a fantastic series. No matter what, for the Twins to be successful, they're going to have to get past this Yankees team that has absolutely owned them for 10, maybe even 15 years now. All right, let's move over to the National League, shall we? Let's head over to the Braves and the Cardinals. And that's right, this is not a TJ Lauerman special. TJ had absolutely no influence on this. We have got the Atlanta Braves defeating the St. Louis Cardinals in the one side of the National League Division Series. Kris, what do you think?
Atlanta's a better team. This to me is the least well, not the least surprising, but this to me would be the first one I would have penciled in. Yes, the Cardinals have had a very good season. They've gotten some very good production from some of those veteran players that they have. Um, they have some very exciting young players, guys like Harrison Bader, who I love watching play center field. They've had an amazing breakout season, especially in the second half from Jack Flaherty. Dakota Hudson's had a great season for them, but they're not on Atlanta's level, in my opinion. Um, you know, some of the bigger weapons that you would expect St. Louis to have, they just don't have what, Andrew Miller is the perfect example. This is a guy who, 3 years ago, literally put the Cleveland Indians on his back and carried them to within a few outs of the World Series. I suppose a few outs of forcing Game 7 of the World Series. But anyway, um, you know, he's a shell of the guy he used to be. Uh, when you get into these playoff series and you're St. Louis and on paper you're outmatched, you're outgunned, you look to that lineup and you say you need that one person who comes from out of nowhere and just gets it done. And I always think back as a Blue Jays fan to '92, and Pat Borders comes from out of nowhere to win World Series MVP. Because again, they were outgunned by Atlanta, they were outmatched by Atlanta, but they had that one X factor, that guy who just, I don't see it with St. Louis. I don't see them overcoming this juggernaut that Atlanta has put together. I will say that the one door that St. Louis can take advantage of is Atlanta's pitching has the capability to disappear at the drop of a hat. For as good as Soroka's been, everything after him is potential question marks. You're looking at guys like, Teheran, Keuchel, Fulton Evans, whatever rotational lineup they decide to go with, there is that possibility that Atlanta's pitching can fail them here. Obviously, our simulations do not think that is going to be the case, to the tune of 61%. That Atlanta's gonna pick it up here. Like for me, I don't see it. I really think Atlanta is the better team. They just need to show up and play the game that they've played for the last 162 games.
I'll tell you though, Flaherty, he's been unbelievable and could be one of those guys, especially in a short 5-game series. Someone pitching as well as him, he's been virtually unhittable, particularly the second half of the season. He's probably the most on fire pitcher anywhere in baseball right now. He could definitely be an X factor. I could see that happening.
Yep, agreed.
All right, let's go to the last of the division series, and I don't have anything to say other than Kris, somehow, some way, Out of the Park Baseball 20 is predicting that the Washington Nationals will defeat the Los Angeles Dodgers in the division series. That's right. The wild card winning Washington Nationals will defeat the historically spectacular Los Angeles Dodgers. Kris, explain yourself. Oh, wait, you're not explaining yourself. Kris, give me your thoughts on this.
Here's the thing. The simulations are basically a toss-up at this point. You're talking, really the simulations are basically pick 'em with a slight advantage towards Washington. This could be one of those series that goes 5 games that, every game could be a 1-run game. I think what it really comes down to in this series is which team's starting rotation shows up. If the Dodgers roll in there and they get great starts from Kershaw and Buehler and Ryu, they're going to be sitting in a good spot. Conversely, if Washington shows up and, depending on how the wild card game goes, if they can, they get a good start from Strasburg and they get a good start from Scherzer and they get a good start from Patrick Corbin, they're going to be right there. This is going to be a starting pitching, matchup through and through the whole way from the first game to the last game. Clayton Kershaw, notoriously terrible in the playoffs. I know in the last couple of years he's kind of sort of
He has shed that. He has
shed it a little bit.
Yep.
But one or two good starts doesn't erase the many bad ones that he has had in October. But yeah, it's one of those things where this could be 5 one-run games and come down to the last out of the last inning of the 5th game. In this case, I will be the first person to admit I would have leaned Dodgers in this situation.
I would. I'm leaning heavily Dodgers. I mean, I'm.
But we're also not the back-to-back 2-time World Series prediction champions.
That is
as
true.
The OOTP Simulation Engine is.
That's true.
In this particular realm, I will digress my opinion and I will just defend the game because you know what? The game's been hot. The game's been hot the last 2 years. So you gotta roll with the hot hand.
I'm with you. And look, we created the slides, we put them out there, we went on MLB Network, we said it's going to happen, right? I'm not shying away from it. I'm looking at this Dodgers lineup, and I'm looking at that Nationals bullpen. Playoff series are not about starting pitching. Playoff series are about the bullpen. I don't see how the Nationals bullpen can hang with that Dodgers lineup. Now I know Kenley Jansen has struggled. Particularly this season, I know he can't hold runners on. I don't know. I was shocked by this. I voiced my shock and was given numbers that said, "Hey, look, this is what the game is predicting." So there you go. That's what it is. So we've got the Nationals and the Braves winning the National League Division Series. And we have got the Yankees and the Astros winning the American League Division Series. Kris, shall we move on to the American League Championship Series?
I see no reason why not.
Well, let's do it. In the American League Championship Series, Out of the Park Baseball 20 predicts that the Houston Astros will win the pennant and defeat the New York Yankees. And as a Mets fan, I have absolutely no problem with this. Not only that, I also agree with it. As we've already said, the Astros are a historically loaded club top to bottom. They're a fantastic organization top to bottom. They build their entire team around consistency of player development. You learn the Astro way, whether you're in the rookie league or A-ball, all the way up to the major leagues. They're better developing players than any other organization. They know what they're doing. I'm in 100% violent agreement with this one. I'm with the Astros. I'm not surprised, although the numbers were probably not as overwhelming, perhaps, as they were in some of the other series, Kris.
Yeah, I definitely agree with this 100%. And based on some of the things that I said earlier, I think the Astros are just too good, too good of a team. It's one of those things where you look at it and you're like, yeah, it's plausible. The simulation engine gives a 74% advantage to Houston. So
super high.
3 out of 4 times this series was simulated, Houston's picking up the win. They're just, again, Houston has no weakness. For as good as the Yankees are, they have faults. Their starting pitching at times can be questionable at best. How absolutely healthy is Luis Severino? That's a big factor as well. For as good as the Yankees are, they're not Houston. And the Yankees have obvious faults and obvious holes, and Houston does not have those things. They are a complete ball club.
Yep.
And I think what this series will accomplish is this series will show the Yankees that they have a little bit of tweaking to do here and there. I'm not saying the disparity between these two clubs is leaps and bounds, like 50 wins away, but Houston has built this team over the last 5 years. The Yankees have been building their program, especially aggressively in the last couple of years.
Yep.
They still have some growing to do. They still have some things, especially starting rotation-wise. I think the Yankees are going to put a big push on in the offseason to address some of the concerns with their starting rotation, namely, someone who maybe one of the guys that they're going to be playing against in this ALCS. But that's neither here nor there. That's a different conversation for a different stream. But yeah, I don't see, without the luck of the baseball gods, a plausible scenario that the Yankees get by Houston.
Yeah, I won't argue with any of that. Again, the Astros are built to win the World Series, and that's exactly what Out of the Park Baseball thinks that they're going to do, at least when it comes to the American League Championship Series. All right. So over in the National League, we've already got a slightly unexpected matchup. Who's going to win? Well, once again, Kris, Out of the Park Baseball loves the Nationals and is not only predicting the Nationals to win the wild card game, not only predicting the Nationals to defeat the powerhouse Dodgers in the National League Division Series, they are predicting that the Washington Nationals will win the National League pennant by defeating the Atlanta Braves in the NLCS, Kris. Amazing.
Here's the thing, is when I first originally saw this posted earlier today, because I only saw the results earlier this morning, I almost spit my coffee all over because I'm like, absolutely, because not only does the simulation like Washington to upset Atlanta, upset in quotation marks, it does so at a 66% clip.
Yep.
2/3 of the time, Washington. And here's the thing, is when you really start diving into the two rosters, you can make a case that the Nationals are the best team in the National League. 1 through 8, they are an amazing hitting ball club. Starting rotation wise, we've talked about that already, and we've talked about the giant dumpster fire that is their bullpen. Atlanta, again, is still growing. Lots of young players, still trying to find their identity as a top tier club. So I can see where the simulation is coming from here, but your initial impression is to blatantly disagree with this result, and I have a hard time believing that the Nationals are going to make it to the World Series. But I am one person with my own opinion, and the simulation has all kinds of technical things that go into it.
Yep.
And definitely not a number one former Expos fan pushing the buttons. Not that we're going to call anybody out or anything. I'm just, maybe the simulation has some Expos bias.
Could be.
There could be some bias in there. But yeah, again, I don't personally see the Nationals as a World Series team. Yes, they have amazing hitting. Yes, they have amazing starting pitching. But are they going to be able to overcome that bullpen? The simulation seems to think so.
If so, that must be projecting that national starters are going 7, maybe even 8 innings deep, right?
Which they're going to need to do.
Absolutely. That's their only formula, is just to get consistent, deep pitching performances from Scherzer and Strasburg and Corbin. That's the only way that's going to happen. Yep. And it's plausible. Certainly plausible. All right. So, as we mentioned at the start, 3 consecutive years, Out of the Park Baseball has predicted the correct World Series winner on MLB Network at the start of the playoffs. So here we go. The moment of truth. Kris Jardine, the World Series winner in 2019, will be the Houston Astros. We are predicting that the Houston Astros will win their second World Series in 3 years. They will defeat the Washington Nationals. And once again, the Astros will hoist the World Series championship trophy, and the city of Houston will celebrate. You can lock it in. If you're in Vegas, go put your money down. It's going to happen. Out of the Park Baseball 20, we don't get this wrong. The Astros are going to win the World Series.
So, yeah, and again, I mean, we've been pumping the tires on the Astros the whole stream with good reason. The simulation does predict that they win 56.5% of the time, which you may think is close. It's about a 13% spread. But you look at the peripheral numbers. Houston is expected to strike out 1.5 more batters per nine. And walk one batter less per nine. That's a big advantage. Obviously, striking out more guys and walking less guys, huge advantage. I think that in a Houston-Washington series straight up, I'd be surprised if it went more than 5 games. Again, we've talked about both of these teams at length. I think the Nationals would be more than ecstatic if they made it to the World Series. I think Houston is going to be disappointed with anything less than hoisting the World Series trophy. They're the most complete team going into the playoffs. They have the fewest holes. They have the most to prove. They gave up the most to get to this point.
Mm-hmm.
They gave up a lot to get Garrett Cole last year. They gave up a significant amount to get Zach Greinke this year. They are all in on winning this World Series. So I mean, does not surprise me at all that Houston is favored to win.
And these are franchises at very different stages, right? Like the Astros for many years were sort of the sad sack, right? They had the bottoming out in the early 2010s and such, but before Jeff Lunau came to the organization and completely rebuilt them top to bottom to be, if not the best organization in Major League Baseball, one of the best. They don't, but for, prior to 2017, they had only they had won a pennant once with Carlos Beltran, a bunch of years ago. And prior to that, hadn't even won, a series. The Washington Nationals are very much that pre-2017 Houston Astros. The Nationals, I don't think, have won a series since they've been in Washington. They've had home leads in wild card games and division series games and lost them. They are very much a team looking to get over the hump. And I'm telling you right now, if you're a Nationals fan and you'll take a National League pennant in 2019 and be delighted. I mean, my Mets in 2015, they didn't win the World Series, but they won the pennant. And I will remember that 2015 season. It was one of the best seasons ever, for any of my teams, just because it was surprising. It sort of came from nowhere and everything came together. The Nationals are very different than that. The Nationals were a team that should have already won more than they have. They're very much built for now. This is a team that has some youth, but they're also put together to win now. So, this is going to be a lot of fun. The baseball playoffs are spectacular. And again, Out of the Park Baseball loves the Nationals, but is predicting the Houston Astros to win the World Series. All right, Kris, Jardine, this was a lot of fun. Before we go, I want to let everybody know, in case you didn't see it, we recently announced Franchise Hockey Manager 6. You can pre-order that today from OOTPdevelopments.com. You get 10% off, and you get it early. It comes out on October 11th, 2019, but you can get it as early as the 7th if you go pre-order that today. And if you're a Steam user, that's fine. Don't worry about that. You'll get that 10% off starting on October 11th. You can go put that on your wish list right now. I wanted to make sure that everybody knows about that. And of course, Out of the Park Baseball 20, you can get it on Steam. Get it right from us at OOTPdevelopments.com. You get it from EA's Origin. If you're an Origin Access subscriber, either the basic or the Premier, you get it as part of that service. Want to make sure that you catch our good friend Kris every single Monday night with his fantastic flagship show here on Twitch called This Week in Perfect Team, Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. On Tuesday nights, our good friend TJ Lauerman streams his franchise, right now the Redbirds Rising. Wednesday nights, we stream Franchise Hockey Manager. Thursday nights, I'll be back a week from Thursday streaming my Perfect Team. All sorts of great stuff going on.
Hold on. You're not even gonna let me get a pitch in here.
I was going to. I was getting to it.
Well, now, listen. But here's the thing, guys. If you've ever wanted to tune into an episode of This Week in Perfect Team, tomorrow night is the one you don't want to miss. Not only are we unveiling our weekly set of content, but we are making not one, not two, but three big announcements tomorrow night on stream.
Love it.
So
Love it.
This is the one. Don't miss tomorrow night's stream.
Yeah, I was definitely going to let you get to that, but before I did that,
while you were talking about it, I was feeling it. I was right there, ready to go.
Excellent. And of course, don't forget about OOTP Now, Out of the Park Now, our podcast that if you're not watching us live here on Twitch or on YouTube, you're listening to it already, so you know how to get it. But Out of the Park Now, it's our podcast where we talk about our games and we talk about the sports that we cover and whatever the heck else we got going on. So Kris, Jardine, once again, where can people find out all the good stuff that you're doing out there in the world of the out-of-park baseball, sir?
I mean, listen, we're everywhere. If there's a social media platform that you're on, chances are we're on it too. We're on Twitter at OOTP Baseball, at OOTP Perfect Team. We're on the Facebook at OOTP Baseball. The Discord, I know there's lots of guys in the chat pumping the tires of the Discord, discord.gg/OOTP. Head over to the forums.otpdevelopments.com. Instagram at OOTP Perfect Team. I mean, we're everywhere, Rich. We're on the Reddit.
Yep.
We're on Imgur, ICQ, MSN Messenger. We're gonna fire up a MySpace page.
There you go.
Listen, if there is not a social media that we're not currently trying to corner the baseball simulation market on. So if you're trying to ingest some of our fabulous content, there's lots of places to find it. I will definitely recommend that you guys stop by the stream on Thursday, because my Mets are in the ALDS against the Braves.
Oh boy,
we're up 2-1 after a game 3 that caused me multiple cardiac arrests.
Mm-hmm. I saw that.
I may very well be streaming from a hospital bed. But I'm going to be there at 8 p.m. on Thursday. So
we need you, man. We need you. Try not to take it too much to heart. No pun intended.
We're everywhere. We're everywhere. If you need to find us, we're out there. I mean, hey, listen, just call me up personally if you need something. I'm always available, constantly.
Thank you guys very much for being here tonight. Again, I cannot thank MLB Network enough. They are fantastic partners. They just super great people to work with, wonderful people, incredible first-class organization. Thank you to the MLB Network for posting our official 2019 Major League Baseball postseason predictions. I am Rich Grisham. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. I cannot thank you enough. Thank you for being part of the great out-of-the-park baseball community. And just enjoy the baseball playoffs. It's my favorite time of year, my favorite thing. There's nothing better than when the Major League Baseball playoffs are just cranking, especially those first couple of weeks. You got the day games, the night games. It's fantastic. So enjoy the playoffs, everybody. And the Houston Astros are going to win the World Series. Thanks, everybody, for coming. Have a great night, and we'll talk to you all week like we do, because that's what we do. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Kris.